Okay, I'm working on my 2013 Hyundai Sonata here today, and we got a problem with the cranking. It's got a really long crank before it starts. I'm going to go ahead and show you that, and then I'll show you the code here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and crank it now. So that's a good long crank, and it'll do it every time. Okay, so I just killed it. Let's just do it again. You see, it will crank, it will run, and it just seems like it doesn't have a lot of power like it should have, but you can drive it around. It's not really noticeable in town anyways. Okay, so I only got two codes in here. One of them is for the O2, which is nothing to be concerned with. I'd already fixed that. It was a loose connection. But then we got the fuel rail pressure low. Well, you know, it is running and you can drive it, but we have two pumps on here. We have one in the tank and we have one up here on the engine itself, the high pressure pump that produces a lot of the pressure for the engine there. So that will cut out the power, and we'll throw this code here. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you what this pump looks like. Now, if you go to a parts store, these are going to run you close to $600. So I would price around. You know, I ordered this one. It was a little over $100 for this one, and it's got a 2-year warranty. So I'm going to try it out. You know, if with the price, you know, it being, you know, close to $600 like that for these OEM, I will definitely try a used OEM before paying that much. But I got this one. It's got the 2-year warranty, so we're going to give this a shot, and I will update as to how it's doing. So first thing, we're going to need to come in and remove our cover here. Just give that a lift up, and it's going to pop out of these little grommets. Okay, now with that out of the way, we can see the pump right here in this area. And we've got, as you can see, a wire connector running into the back. We got the fuel line that's coming from the tank there in the middle, and then we've got another fuel line that's going down to the intake there. Okay, so this is where, you know, the first thing, you know, you'd obviously want to check out your fuses and everything. But once we know that the pump is the problem, the first thing I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to remove the fuel pump fuse there, and we'll probably go ahead and just take the relay out for good measure. And you can look on your lid, it'll show you which one you need to remove. We're going to wiggle this one out, and then we're going to get over here and get our little, this one right here, and we're going to go for the fuel pump, which is going to be this one right here, this 20 amp. So now we'll just go ahead and set that aside. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is come on the inside, and we're going to crank this, and we're going to let it run long enough to burn that fuel out. And I would recommend working on it on a cool engine, so if there is any fuel that leaks out, you don't have a dangerous situation there. Let's go ahead and see if we can crank it here. Okay, and you see it run for just a little bit and it died, so we should have the fuel burn out, but we're going to take all the precautions when we're working on this as well, you know, safety glasses, and we'll make sure we put down some rags as well. Okay, so here we are at the pump. The first thing we're going to tackle, I think, is this wire connector right here. Let's give that a squeeze on that tab. Okay, and I've got some safety glasses. Now we're going to also keep a rag around this, lift up on this tab right here. Now you also got a couple of tabs you got to push in on each side. Let me show you. Okay, so you got to push in. You got these on both sides. So we got one over here on the left. Okay, and here's the one over here on the right as well. So we've pulled up on that, and then we push in on both of these. I said have safety glasses just as a precaution. We'll keep this rag because we still may have some pressure. Okay, and there's still a little bit of fuel. I'm going to get another rag here. Okay, now as far as this goes, a 3/4 or a 19 will work just fine for this. And we're just going to get a hold of that, and again, safety glasses, and we got a rag here. Now this has also got a clamp down here, and it's also fastened in another area, so I may have to loosen up the clamp if it wants to give me any trouble, but I'm going to leave it just like this for the moment. Okay, now we're going to focus on these tins right here. And it's a good idea to also disconnect your negative when you're taking things loose and working on. Definitely want to be on the safe side. Alright, now what I'm hoping is that maybe I can wiggle this out of here, but I don't know if it's going to work out that way. I think I'm not going to have enough slack with this line here. Okay, because of the slack issue, we're going to have to do a little more work here. First, going to start by taking out these two 10mm right here. Okay, just give this piece a little lift up here, and it'll come right out. We're going to focus on removing this. Now, if you look down in here, you'll notice there's a 10mm. There's also one on this other side that's kind of hidden by that, but you got another one right over here. So two 10mm that are bolting. We're going to take this whole box out in just a minute. So we're going to get down there. I'm going to use an extension and a magnet and get those two 10mm bolts out. Okay, so I'm getting the one over here on this right side first. I said these are kind of hidden. Now you could remove this in pieces if you'd like, but to get it all out of the way, this is pretty much how it needs to come out. So there's that, and I'm going to get my magnet and get the first one. Okay. Okay, I went ahead and moved that positive connector so I could show you the one over here on this side, because it was hiding. So I'll go ahead and get that one out with the magnet, and that's all that's holding the box part here. Okay, we got a few hoses. Let's take you some needle nose. Just pop that back. We got one more at the back here. Okay, so we'll get this one right here. And don't expect these to come off easy, they never do. Just have to work it off. I'm gonna have to get a screwdriver here. All right, so let's see if we can push it off here with this. All right, so we got that one. Okay, the next thing we're going to get is this, either a 10 or a Phillips. We'll take that loose. That's just this is running to your throttle body there, and it disconnect. We just loosen that 10 right there, and we can pop that whole thing off. All right, I'm going to just go down in here with this little 10 and loosen that up real good. Okay, now at this point we should be able to pop that off of there and pop this whole piece up and out of here. It's on some rubber grommets in the back there. Okay, so you can see we got this entire piece loose. And now we can easily see down in here and get to the clamp. Okay, so we got a little like purge valve here in front of this that's easy. You just kind of lift up on the tab, just kind of pushing down a little bit. Just push down and that pops off of there. So that the connector running to this, and it's basically we've got the other return hose right here. We're going to push that off of this valve. We'll get our screwdriver and push that off. Okay, so if you can see that line, that's just a part of the return. You got the line coming in from the tank and the evap return. So I just need to work that off there. This will slide. You lift up on this tab right in here. This will slide off. And I'm just trying to basically get this out of my way so I can get to this brace here. Okay, so with that line off, I should be able to pull this off, and then I'll be able to show you. It's just difficult sometimes just getting in to the things you need to get to because you got a lot of parts in the way. Okay, I popped the hose off of this end too because it just is wanting to not give me any slack. So you see how that just slides, and it's got that tab there. It locks into that, so you actually have to kind of push down on that rather, and it will slip off of there. But anyways, we got that out of the way, and now you can see. Well, you still can't really see. Well, let me get a better angle. You can see it right here. This is a 10 millimeter that's clamped to this fuel line, and we absolutely have no slack with that clamp. So we're going to loosen this off a little bit and take that 10 millimeter loose there. Okay, so we're just going to go right here and loosen this up and see how this is going to help, hopefully. So we got it pretty well loose. I think we may just take that bolt completely out. This is one of those clamps, I mean, it's almost unnecessary because those lines, when they fasten down, are so tight that there's no way that line's moving. If something moves it, it's going to damage it. Okay, so that I think is going to work up here. Okay, so you can see that gave me a little bit of slack that I need here. So I'm going to pull that back and we're going to try to wiggle that out. Okay, it's kind of stuck in there. That's just because that old O-ring has gunk on it. Okay, I wanted to show you another part of this. This has a little keyway that goes down in there, and I pulled that out and cleaned that up. Now that's what rides on the lobe, and then as it comes around it pushes up on that spring. So you may want to pull this out and inspect this. I got this out with a magnet. So I'm just going to clean it up, put some clean oil, and we're just going to slip it back down in there. Okay, you can see that that's only going to go that way. And once we get that keyway lined up, that'll pop right down in there. Okay, and here's our pumps side by side. And they look to be the same. I'll probably put a light dab of clean oil around this. I'm going to make sure that my line is centered up. Make sure that's fully seated. Let's give it a little turn. We'll go ahead and line up our bolts here. Okay, so I'm going to put a little, just a little bit of medium Loctite on these. And we're just going to make sure we're starting these by hand before we go to starting on it with our ratchet. Don't want to get things cross-threaded. And these are like, you know, the sort of bolts that are inch pounds. They do not have to be very tight. Okay, so I'm going to just snug these down with a 1/4 inch ratchet. I'm not going by any torque specs or anything. So it's going into aluminum. They're small bolts, easy to strip. So the next thing that we want to do is get our little, I want to get this back up here. So this is, you know, centered itself. It's, you know, made to kind of center itself up pretty good. We want to make sure that this goes on with our fingers and it's nice and centered up. And now we'll go ahead and get our 3/4, and we'll just we'll snug this down, and then we'll get our little brace bolt back in. If everything's back in place, we shouldn't have any. Now this shouldn't take, I mean, this, you know, you want to get it nice and snug, but if the line is good, it should seal. Of course, you know, this is something that's going to be very important to keep an eye on. We want to make sure any of this that we took loose, that we're not going to have any leaks. So the next one I think we're going to get on is this. And make sure that's up. Snap it on. Push the lock down. And we'll go ahead and get this connector right here. Let's give it a push. Okay, so there's the pump. All there is to that, pretty easy. The biggest battle is just getting down here to get to this brace that was going to give me slack. So I'm just going to work on putting that back. Okay, so we're just getting this little bolt back here, and then we put all this air box and stuff back in. Very easy. We do have to put our little purge valve back in after we snug this up, though. Alright, so we got our little purge valve. Now one thing I like to do is put a little light dab of this silicone grease. Any of these hoses I take loose because I really hate fighting with them every time. So if I have to take it off again, it'll come off easily. So we'll just slip this back into this here. I think we're going to have to go back on our brace first here. It's looking like I may have done this in the wrong order. So let me slip that back off. Okay, so yeah, slip it on that brace first. That this wire right here is kind of making it difficult. I could have loosened that brace up, but it would have been more work. But now we just got to get this other one over here in place. It's manageable, but it's kind of limited room in here. But you want to try to do something with removing as little as you can. All right, so let's get this one. All right, so that's the worst of it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just set our air box, and we've just got the two 10 millimeters. Let's go ahead and set that back in there. Okay, so rubber grommet in the back, and then put these two right back here. Okay, now we just got to slip our hose. Again, I put a little light silicone because those things are so stubborn. Right, we slipped that back onto the throttle, and we'll just go ahead and get that where it's easy to get to and tighten up that band. Okay, now we're just going to slip this piece back in and just put those two screws back. Alright, so we need to get this fuse back in here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and reconnect our battery cables here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and come in the car here, and we want to cycle the key and a couple times, let the fuel prime. Let's go out here and check for any leaks. Okay, so we'll come out here and we'll just feel and look and make sure we don't want to crank it up and have any leaks going. One thing I just remembered was the connector going to my purge valve there. I had to refasten that. Okay, so we're going to come inside here, and this thing should crank right up. There we have it. Every time, that's good. Alright, so that's going to do it on this video on replacing this high pressure pump. Yeah, I went ahead and got my cover back on here, check for leaks. Everything looks good, so if you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.